For those of us who oppose the gondola, today is not a day of doom and gloom. It's important to note that the record of decision issued by UDOT includes a phased approach. And not long ago, I think maybe a year ago, I coined the phrase common sense solutions. And while phase one includes many of those common sense solutions, Salt Lake County is hard at work right now, engaged with UDOT, many stakeholders, and the community to invest in those common sense solutions. The legislature heard us. I was pleased last session that there was a defined appropriation that will allow that bus system to be built, to get up and running, and that is a mission of UDOT for now. I'm not concerned right now about phase 2 or phase 3. The gondola is at minimum, as listed, 25 years away. We have 25 years, people, those of us who care deeply about the canyon, to prove that busing will work. Salt Lake County will remain engaged, we will remain committed, we will remain working on this challenging issue, and all the while we'll do everything we can do to invest people power, county resources, and common sense ideas to indeed implement those common sense solutions. I'm proud of the team here working. I am most proud of our community. We raised this idea of common sense solutions. We will continue to support those common sense solutions, but it's really the allies, the partners, and the public, thousands of people who spoke out by responding to the Wasatch Front Regional Council's listing, to the work that had been done prior with the earlier phased release by UDOT, by stating very directly that we love our canyons. We think that a $500 million in terms of capital cost in today's dollar, $1 billion over time investment is one that will indeed harm our community and not help it. Mostly our canyon, we love our canyon. We know that our Wasatch Canyons, our Little Cottonwood Canyon, are very, very important to our quality of life. Recreation is in our heart and soul as Utahns, as Salt Lake County residents, and there's so many reasons that we should be concerned. The last point I want to make, as I have over time become more and more concerned about the gondola, is there is not financial equity with something as expensive as a fixed gondola. The taxpayers are going to pick up the bill, and we calculate $300 per resident will be assessed that fee to build it through our tax dollars, through our state tax payments. That doesn't include the additional fee to ride it. That's just not right for kids in rural Utah who never will even make it to Salt Lake County, for our taxpayers throughout the state. It's a different thing than roads. We all have roads, we all use roads, but to me, investment in the canyon needs to be appropriate. We need to make sure that our environment is not impacted, and that really we're being wise in the use of our taxpayers' dollars. So with that, I'll take some questions.
Mayor, at this point, is there anything you plan to do in terms of legislatively through the county to, say, block any kind of funding going to it or anything like that?
Well, I don't think I have the toolbox to block funding because the funding is coming through the legislature. I will say this. If I were a state legislator and I saw the vast number of comments opposed, I would give pause before I were to vote for further appropriations that would advance a gondola. I appreciate those, and there were many in the legislature across party lines who said, wait a minute, busing makes sense. So we will invest in busing. I compliment the legislature. That's what they did last session. They're very specific. Busing, a transit hub, tolling, all of those working together in this phase one can indeed provide success. And again, the public's got to be willing to use a bus, and I'll be working with UDOT, other partners as well, to make sure we've got modernized busing. We want electric busing. We want efficiency. Let's make sure that when we bus, we do it well, regular pickups. We need to have some customer service. Let's help the kids load those buses and make sure it's a good family experience for the Utah families who, like me, have loved to ski in those canyons over the years.
You couldn't rely on UTA though to do it because you had a funded supplemental service there. What makes you think that they're going to be able to do it this time?
Well, UDOT has the appropriation. So this isn't just a concept at this stage to implement phase one. The common sense solutions, there are additional that stakeholders, including Salt Lake County, are working on right now. Meetings are being held, conversations are being held, UDOT is at the table, and there are things that can be done this season that we're hoping we can roll out.
Mayor, you mentioned common sense solutions. There were more than 35,000 public comments that came in. 61% of those commenters were against this. Was this process fair?
You know, I'm not an expert in environmental impact studies. I've learned more. They're very rigid, and I think that if I were to rewind time, I would not put UDOT in the driver's seat. They're a transportation authority, right? I might have chosen the Forest Service or another partner. That's a federal process, and it was designated to UDOT some time ago, long before I was in this seat. And I think I would have preferred that we work through an entity where those of us who have standing, have interest in this, have equal parity in the process. And that would have been Salt Lake County, it would have been the Forest Service. I mean, there was a process, many were at the table. We were not in direct, we weren't part of that initial group that met to define the objectives. So the rigors of an EIS process well, the EIS process is very rigorous, is what I should say. And with that, I can't speak to, you know, whether or not UDOT erred or what have you, but I do think that there is a need for a process to correct itself when the vast majority of people who speak out are so heavily weighed in one direction versus another.
So was the process fair then?
Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't say that UDOT is necessarily being unfair. I would say that we need to reform our federal process to make sure that voices at the local level are being heard, and voices were not heard on
With the record
this
of
one.
decision, this opens the window for litigation. Would the county join in litigation against this?
You know, I want to move to common sense solutions. I want to be productive. We have resources here at the county. Our county council joins me with opposition to the gondola, and I want to put my time into problem solving. I care about neighbors who are impacted at the base of the canyon, who can't get to the grocery store on a busy day. I care about safety in the canyon. I care about access. I think there are things we can do. And I go back to my days as a new council member in 2005. We were talking about the problems in Little Cottonwood Canyon back then, and what we knew is that we needed a solution. I don't know, you know, in those early days, there were big ideas, a gondola, a train. We have chased a big shiny object for too long. What we really need to do is, again, embrace those common sense solutions. Technology, let's have better real-time information on the status of the canyon. I like the idea of tolling. We should pay more for those who are traveling at peak, all the while remembering that not everyone has the financial means to get up to recreate. The canyon is Little Cottonwood and is all of ours, and we need to make sure that everybody continues to have access. But there are common sense solutions, and I support those rather than an overbuilt object that will mar the canyon. There's nothing that makes sense to me when we look at 22 towers, hundreds of feet of height, and not to mention the mega parking lot at the base that will make it a really, I think, you know, you want to go up to a canyon and relax and think about the fact you're moving into wilderness, not look at a big parking lot. And with that, we'll see some traffic challenges as well.
Mayor, the actual construction of the gondola will require funding from the lawmakers. I'm wondering, in conversations with lawmakers, like how they feel about that. Is that something you see the legislature voting to support?
Well, I think the public has done an amazing job at finding their voice and using it. And again, I would take note of that if I were a legislator making a vote. There's a lot of demands, not just in Little Cottonwood Canyon. If you look at the recreation needs throughout the state, if you look at the challenges in Summit County with backed up traffic, they're acute. There's also challenges getting to Powder Mountain and Weber County and other areas. Those roads have a lot of, they're becoming more and more impassable, and there are weights there as well. So if I were a legislator, I would give pause to a significant appropriation for one canyon, especially when the more that we look at the facts, the more we realize that it may not solve the problem.
In the interim, Mayor, do you intend to kick additional funding into like the private shuttle service that the county offered to augment UTA this last ski season?
Yeah, well, we knew last season that there was a problem that needed to be solved, and we're in the business of solving problems. UTA had a shortage of drivers, and we're hoping that things are better this year and that they, along with UDOT, will prioritize the routes in the canyon. We're right now in discussions with Visit Salt Lake. We know that our visitors need to have a path up the canyon, and we'll continue those conversations. No final decisions have been made on that. I wouldn't anticipate that the counties, we're talking about a state road, not a county road, even though it is the county's jurisdiction. And I think that there's some minimal things we can do, but the funding provided by the legislature will allow UDOT to get going on acquiring the property and moving forward in building that transit hub and getting the busing up and running. And I will say it'll take a couple of years, so we will be at the table to come up with some intermediate solutions as well.
Anything else?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank